Welcome to our deep dive into Stoicism, all about finding strength amidst, well, everything life throws at us. We're going to be using the Daily Stoic as our guide.
It's amazing how timeless this philosophy really is.
Yeah, the book actually mentions that the Stoics saw themselves as like facing the same fundamental challenges as people from way back when, and they thought future generations would be dealing with the same stuff too.
Right. They had this idea, one day is as all days. Like, the details change, but underneath, we're all going through similar human experiences.
Yeah.
They had their stuff in ancient Rome, and we've got ours today, but it's how we react that matters.
They were really big on controlling our perceptions, right? Like not letting events dictate our inner state.
Exactly. That's a huge part of it. Think about just everyday things. Traffic jams, flight delays, or even, getting passed over for a promotion. Those are things outside your control, but how you think about them, that's your choice.
It's not about pretending bad things don't happen, but more about shifting our perspective. The book even quotes Epictetus. He said, I may wish to be free from torture, but if the time comes for me to endure it, I'll wish to bear it courageously with bravery and honor. It's like facing hardship head on, but with grace.
That's the heart of it. Like Marcus Aurelius ruling an empire, facing incredible pressure.
Yeah.
But Stoicism gave him strength.
That's wild to think about. The book also talks about how material possessions, well, they don't really solve our internal struggles. Even Seneca, who is super wealthy, recognized that.
Yeah, it's a big thing, especially nowadays with all the messages about buying happiness. But Seneca realized that fulfillment comes from within. He said, and this is a powerful quote, we sell things of great value for things of very little, and vice versa.
It makes you wonder what we might be undervaluing in our own lives. What about you? Have you found yourself thinking about that?
All the time, really. It's easy to focus on the external markers of success, but forget about things like relationships, meaning, that sort of thing.
Like Warren Buffett. He's one of the richest guys in the world, but he lives pretty simply, speaks volumes about his priorities.
And you see that same idea with the New England Patriots coaching. Do your job. Focus on what you can control, not all the distractions.
Speaking of distractions, that's something we all struggle with now.
Yeah.
Our attention is pulled in a million directions. The book mentions how aware the Stoics were of this, just like we need to be aware of technology, media, all that.
Right, right. They really knew how to guard their minds. It's like Viktor Frankl said, man is pushed by drives, but pulled by values. We got to make sure our values are doing the pulling.
So we've got external distractions, but then the book also talks about internal ones. Things like ego, self-deception, how the Stoics deal with that.
They saw those as major roadblocks.
Right.
Imagine, like, always justifying your actions or never admitting you could be better. That's a recipe for stagnation.
It's like we're blind to our own flaws. And I think the book said self-control and discipline were key for the Stoics to fight those internal battles.
Absolutely. They knew how easily our desires and worries can take over. They journaled, reflected, tried to gain clarity. Seneca even recommended these daily questions, almost like a self-check-in. What bad habit did I curb today? How am I better? Were my actions just? How can I improve?
Wow, those are some tough ones. It's like holding ourselves accountable. Even Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, did this, right? His meditations.
Exactly. And that self-reflection, choosing our principles, that's so connected to how the Stoics thought about choice and purpose. The book gives the example of Cato practicing public speaking in private. He wanted to speak only when he had something really valuable to say, aligning actions with values.
Being intentional with our words, I like that. And that ties into finding virtue in adversity, something we touched on earlier. Choosing how we respond, even when things are tough.
It's deep, for sure. Life throws punches. It's how we roll with them that defines us.
It makes you wonder, like, how would they handle anger? We all feel that sometimes.
They had a very interesting take on it. The book emphasizes that the true harm doesn't come from the actual offense, but from our beliefs about it. It's not condoning bad behavior, but understanding that our reaction makes all the difference.
So we can choose how we respond, even to something that makes us angry.
Exactly. And that choice, it comes from our reasoned choice. That's another big idea in Stoicism. Our ability to think things through, use logic that helps us navigate these tough spots and make choices aligned with, well, who we want to be.
Like we have this inner guide. The book mentions Plutarch and how he was surprised by how easily he understood Stoic ideas later in life. He said it was because he had the life experience to back it up, more than just words on a page.
It shows that Stoicism is meant to be lived out. This deep dive is a start, but it's applying these ideas, seeing how they work for you that really matters.
Making it your own. That's great.
And that brings us to paying the right price for things, We can get caught up in wanting stuff, but the Stoics really wanted us to think about the real value.
It's like that part in the book, the one comparing how much some luxury goods cost versus, well, the tragically low price some people put on human life, made me think a lot.
Stark contrast. The Stoics knew that real value is often in the things you can't, like hold. Virtue, honesty, caring for others, those matter more than any fancy gadget. Diogenes said, "We sell things of great value for things of very little," and vice versa. Always stuck with me.
It does make you reevaluate. Am I spending my time on the right things? Kindness, generosity.
Yeah.
Those matter more than any new phone, right?
Constant battle, though, especially now. And the Stoics, they also warned about seeking validation from others. Trying to impress people all the time, it gets you nowhere.
It's like we need everyone else to tell us we're worthy. Easy trap to fall into.
For sure. The Stoics, they were about being philosophers in all that we do, focusing on living well, not what others think.
Being authentic, yeah. And even if you are successful, the book says it's about staying humble.
Definitely. Ego and power, they can mess you up. It's about your principles, no matter what. Like Marcus Aurelius selling imperial stuff to pay war debts. Talk about humility.
That's wild. You'd think an emperor would want all the fancy things.
Actions speak louder than words, right? We get to choose our values.
Speaking of things we can choose, the book talks about the Stoics' approach to negativity. They knew it was going to happen, so they mentally prepared for it.
I was like, okay, stuff is going to hit the fan, so be ready. Life's unpredictable. You need a strong mindset.
So tough talks, setbacks, difficult people, all part of the game. Makes you think about how to handle that stuff better.
Right. They were big on testing our impressions, too. Not just believing every thought or feeling we have.
Like double-checking our assumptions.
Yeah. Don't take everything at face value.
Mm.
The Stoics were even like, okay with paying taxes. It sounds small, but it's about accepting what you can't change.
Finding grace in those situations.
Right on. And that applies to how we see other people's actions. Choose interpretations that help you, not ones that get you all worked up.
We have power in how we frame our experiences, even the tough ones.
Exactly. And that choice extends to where we put our attention. The Stoics, they said, focus on what matters, your goals, your values, not the superficial stuff.
The book uses a good analogy, like an athlete choosing a sport and training for it. We need that kind of focus in life, too.
Great analogy. It's being intentional.
Yep.
And it connects to their warnings about, all that flashy spending. Just leads to an empty reputation.
True wealth isn't about stuff. It's about how you live. The book contrasts the lavish lifestyles of some Romans back then with, like, Marcus Aurelius again, or Jose Mujica, who donated most of his salary. Those guys knew what mattered.
They did. And that leads us to another important point, not needing validation from others.
It's about defining our own worth, not letting others do it for us. Tough in today's world, though.
It is. Takes effort to stay true to yourself when there's so much pressure. But the book has a great example, Abraham Lincoln. Imagine the pressure he was under during the Civil War.
Must have been incredibly tough to stay grounded through all that.
He did it, though. Shows how stoicism can help, even in the craziest times. Aligning words with actions, just like Lincoln.
Walking the talk, yeah. Embodying your principles. The book talks about that a lot, being consistent.
So true. The Stoics knew real strength is being the same inside and out. Think of someone you trust completely. It's probably because they're always honest, reliable.
Consistency builds trust. It's about showing up authentically every day. The book even mentions Theodore Roosevelt. Like, his whole life was about that.
Perfect example. He had setbacks, fights, even health issues later on. But he was always courageous, resilient, always had that purpose. Real consistency.
Makes you think about where you could be more consistent in your own life. Following through on things, being reliable for yourself and others.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect, but about trying to live by your values day after day.
And that ties into taking responsibility for our own lives, a huge theme in the book. Owning our choices, not blaming others.
The Stoics, they were all about that. We make our own destiny. We have the power to choose our path.
Blaming just keeps us stuck. Gotta own it, right? We can shape our future.
Marcus Aurelius said, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth."
Our perceptions create our reality, and we get to choose them.
We do. And with that choice comes responsibility. Choose your battles wisely, the Stoics said. Focus on what matters, not every little thing.
Sometimes the best thing is to just walk away.
Totally. Be strategic, put your energy where it counts. And speaking of energy, the Stoics also talked about simplifying life, letting go of what's not needed.
Making space for what truly matters.
Decluttering, both physically and mentally. Think about all the stuff we fill our lives with. Most of it doesn't really serve us.
It's a process, letting go. The book also mentions this interesting idea, the power of self-interest, like to persuade someone, appeal to what benefits them, not just morals.
Makes sense, right? Figure out what motivates people. Frame your arguments in a way that clicks with them. Be persuasive, not preachy.
Finding that common ground. And it reminds me of another great point from the book, learning from different sources, being open to wisdom wherever it pops up.
Be curious, not stuck in your ways. The Stoics knew wisdom could come from anywhere.
Seneca even quoted Epicurus, an Epicurean philosopher, totally different schools of thought.
Exactly. He was open to learning from anyone who had something valuable to share. It didn't matter who they were.
It's like you can learn from anyone, even someone you disagree with. And the Stoics, they also understood how important humor is.
Lightens the load, right? Helps you see the brighter side.
Don't take yourself too seriously. Democritus said, "It is better to laugh at life than to lament over it."
Words to live by. Humor keeps things in perspective. Even when things are rough, there's always something to smile about.
And that ties into living in accordance with nature, another big Stoic theme.
Nature's full of wisdom.
Appreciating the simple stuff. Finding beauty all around us.
Exactly. And recognizing we're part of something bigger.
The Stoics also believe that contentment is key to happiness.
True wealth isn't stuff. It's aligning your desires with what you've got.
Being satisfied with what you have, not always wanting more.
The book quotes John D. Rockefeller. A man's wealth must be determined by the relation of his desires and expenditures to his income. If he feels rich on $10 and has everything he desires, he really is rich. Powerful stuff.
Contentment isn't about how much you have, but how much you appreciate it.
You got it. Finding joy in the little things, being grateful for what you've been given.
The book also talks about overcoming laziness.
That'll hold you back from your potential.
Taking action, going after your goals.
Building a good work ethic. Epictetus said, "On those mornings you struggle with getting up, keep this thought in mind, I'm awakening to the work of a human being. Or was I made for this, to snuggle under the covers and keep warm?"
Start each day with intention. We've got work to do.
We do, and we got to use our time well. Which reminds me, got to be forgiving of others too.
The Stoics knew everyone makes mistakes. Forgiveness is essential for everyone.
Let go of the anger, the resentment.
Choose compassion.
The book has a good tip. When you're holding a grudge, remember your own mess-ups. Helps you be more understanding.
We're all human, all make mistakes.
Exactly. Should make us kinder to each other.
The Stoics also emphasized accepting what we can't control.
Lots of stuff in life. We can't change it.
Focus on what we can.
Let go of that need to control everything. Find peace in what is.
The book uses Theodore Roosevelt as an example, after he ended up in a wheelchair. He didn't let it stop him.
So inspiring. He focused on what he could still do. Chose his focus even when things were tough.
We always have a choice. And that leads us to a really interesting Stoic idea, the power of silence.
They knew silence was a source of strength, wisdom.
Taking time for quiet reflection, listening to that inner voice.
Silence helps you clear your head, connect with your inner wisdom, tune out the world, reconnect with yourself.
My best ideas often come when it's quiet.
Me too. The Stoics knew that real wisdom often comes from within, not always from looking outward.
And that connects to self-awareness.
Huge for the Stoics. Be aware of your thoughts, feelings, actions. Self-reflection helps you see your weak spots.
Know yourself. Be your best self.
It's a journey, not a destination. Always learning, growing.
The book also talks about staying grounded, remembering where you came from.
Those past struggles, they help us appreciate where we are now.
See how far you've come. Use it as fuel.
Don't take things for granted. You've got the power to overcome anything.
It's like looking back at those mountains you climbed, knowing you're tougher than you thought.
Love that image. And it fuels your resilience. Which brings us to something really important. Honesty. Being real.
The Stoics, they were big on living authentically. Even when it's hard, let your values guide you.
The book mentioned something interesting. People often confess even when they could keep it a secret. Like they need to set things right, even if it hurts.
Makes you think about how messed up we feel when we're not being true to ourselves.
Totally. The Stoics knew that true peace comes from living in line with your principles. You can lie to others, but not to yourself.
And in the end, that's what makes life meaningful. Like the book says, being a good person.
That's what it's all about. The Stoics said that's our main job in life.
Living with virtue, caring for others, doing the right thing.
And recognizing that our choices affect everyone, not just us.
It brings us back to that interconnectedness, yeah. We're all in this together. It really does. We affect each other, like it or not. The book also touches on the Stoic idea of a higher power, something bigger than ourselves.
The Stoics believed in a force, governing the universe, a rational force, a good force. Aligning with it brought peace and understanding.
I wonder how that translates today. For some, it's religion, maybe. For others, it's a feeling of connection to nature or awe at the universe.
You're right, could be lots of things. The book even quotes the 12 steps. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, letting go of control, surrendering.
Finding some comfort in that kind of relates to the Stoic idea of impermanence, how everything's always changing.
They knew that. Nothing stays the same. Hanging on just causes pain. Gotta go with the flow.
Appreciate what we have now. Let go of what's hurting us. Roll with it.
Yeah. The book has this powerful image from Marcus Aurelius about how quickly life passes. Think by way of example on the times of Vespasian, and you'll see all these things: marrying, raising children, falling ill, dying, wars, holiday feasts, commerce, farming, flattering, pretending, suspecting, scheming. Now that life of theirs is dead and gone, makes you think.
Makes you want to really live, savor those moments, not waste time on what doesn't matter.
Exactly. And that leads to accepting our mortality.
Big one for the Stoics. Death is part of life. Knowing that helps us live better now.
Live with purpose, knowing our time is limited, and face death with courage.
The book has that line from Seneca. What is death? A scary mask. Take it off, see, it doesn't bite. Like our fear is often worse than the reality.
Love that. Fear likes to play tricks on us, and when we do face loss, it's important to let ourselves grieve.
The Stoics knew that suppressing grief just makes it worse.
Gotta feel it, process it, Seneca said. It's better to conquer grief than to deceive it.
Don't run from it. Acknowledge it. It takes time.
The Stoics also believed in the power of our reasoned choice. It's always there for us no matter what.
That inner compass to guide us.
You can always trust it.
That's really reassuring.
It is. The Stoics, they had a lot to say about living a good life. Not an easy life, but one filled with virtue.
Aligning our actions with who we want to be.
Exactly. And, this deep dive, it's really just the beginning. It's about taking these ideas, these Stoic principles, and seeing how they fit into your own life.
Right, like what resonates with you? What could you use today?
Stoicism, it's not about denying the hard stuff. It's about facing it with strength, with wisdom.
It's about finding that resilience, that purpose, even joy amidst all the chaos.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Me too. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Stoicism. Until next time.